Welcome to another episode of 10-Minute Mood. My name's Aspasia, and today we will be looking at attachment styles. What are they? How are they formed? And how do they play out in our adult relationships? As a clinical psychologist, I have seen firsthand how important understanding attachment styles can be for improving relationships, improving overall well-being, as well as becoming more purposeful in how we approach relationships, how we treat other people, and how we treat ourselves. So what are attachment styles? Put simply, they are patterns of behaviour that are learned in childhood and carried into adulthood. These patterns are based on our interactions with our caregivers and the emotional bonds we form with them about who we are, who other people are, how we should behave when we are in relationship to other people, and importantly, how we behave during disagreement, conflict, or challenge. They are relational templates that get stored in our unconscious mind, meaning that they are like a map of expectations. They outline what we expect other people to do when they are relating to us and how we should be in return to ensure maximum success. Now, the term success is important here because when we're very young, success means something in particular. It's about staying in our caregivers' sights, ensuring that we're being looked after enough that our physical safety is not overly threatened and that we can continue to grow into adulthood. Often, this means that this map is trying to keep us close to our caregiver and liked by our caregiver. But even this can become complicated. These maps or templates are unconscious because even though we know from decades of research that this is how we are wired to interact with other people, we're generally not consciously aware of these rules and this sort of position description in our mind about how we should act with other people and how we expect others to act with us. Even though it exerts a huge influence over our actions and our relationships across our lifespan, it's often the case that we're just not consciously aware of what is going into those decisions around our actions. There are 4 main attachment styles: secure, anxious preoccupied, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant. Essentially, there's a secure attachment style and then 3 versions of an insecure attachment style. So we'll have a closer look at each one. Secure attachment is characterised by a healthy balance of independence and closeness. So children with secure attachment styles feel safe and secure with their caregivers. And as adults, they're able to form trusting and loving relationships. They can grapple with disagreement. They can stand up for their needs and desires and boundaries, while also taking into account the needs of other people. Anxious preoccupied attachment is characterised by a need for constant reassurance and attention. So children with this attachment style may have had caregivers who were inconsistent or unpredictable in their responses, which has led to anxiety and insecurity in relationships as adults. And they respond to this anxiety and insecurity in their relationships by wanting to remain in the attention of the other person. They look for a lot of reassurance. They worry if they aren't around the other person for a long period of time. And that's why it's called anxious preoccupied. The dismissive avoidant attachment is characterised by a desire for independence and a reluctance to form close relationships. Children with this attachment style may have had caregivers who were emotionally distant, leading to a belief that they can only rely on themselves as adults. Relying on other people is unpredictable, therefore I'll just rely on myself. Fearful avoidant attachment is characterised by a desire for closeness, but also a fear of rejection and abandonment. So children with this attachment style may have had caregivers who were abusive or neglectful, leading to a deep-seated fear of vulnerability in relationships as adults. It's important to note that attachment styles are not set in stone. They can be changed with self-awareness and effort and new versions of relationship. So what can you do to identify your attachment style and improve your relationships as an adult? Here are some signs to look out for. If you have a secure attachment style, you're likely to feel comfortable with intimacy. You're likely to be able to communicate your needs and emotions effectively to other people. In a relationship, you'll likely experience trust, safety, security. You'll be able to communicate openly with your partner about difficulties or challenges, and you'll feel confident that they'll be there for you when you need them. If you have an anxious, preoccupied attachment style, you might struggle with jealousy. You might have a need for constant reassurance from your partner. You might worry about your partner leaving you or not caring about you as much as you care about them. You may be checking in with them about that a lot. You may find yourself getting upset easily, needing your partner to prove that they love you. You may also have a tendency to cling to your partner, to have difficulty with separation. If you have a dismissive avoidant attachment style, you may have difficulty forming close relationships and you might come across as emotionally distant, a bit avoidant or aloof, perhaps even cold and withdrawn. In a relationship, you might come across as uninterested in your partner's needs or feelings. I think aloof is a good word for that. You might prioritize your independence over the relationship and struggle with feelings of vulnerability or dependence. You really won't like feeling that you are dependent on someone for anything. You may also have a tendency to push your partner away when they get too close. If you have a fearful avoidant attachment style, you may struggle with trust. You might have a fear of being abandoned in relationships. In a relationship, you might have a difficult time opening up, being vulnerable with your partner. You might struggle with feelings of insecurity, have a tendency to push your partner away while also feeling a strong desire for closeness. So that push and pull of wanting to be close and yet finding yourself pushing your partner away. And you may also have a tendency to sabotage your relationships due to your fear of being hurt. So even though you have this goal of being with this person, you find that you sabotage the relationship as a way to exit it so that you don't have to experience the hurt that may come if they eventually leave you. It's important to remember that these are just general tendencies and not everyone with a certain attachment style will display all of the behaviours. It's also possible to have a mix of attachment styles or to have different attachment styles in different kinds of relationships. But the goal here is to try and increase the awareness of your own patterns and tendencies when you're in a relationship, and to work towards developing a more secure attachment style in all of your relationships, because we know that that is the attachment style that leads to the healthiest outcomes. If you identify with any of these attachment styles that are not the secure type, then don't worry, there are definitely things you can do to improve your attachment style in your relationships. Depending on what your individual challenges are, it may be useful to see a psychologist to work through some of this. But you can start now just by becoming more self-aware. So start to become more aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors in relationships. They don't have to be romantic relationships. This could be friendships, family relationships. Romantic relationships are where some of these patterns can become really obvious though. So it can be a useful place to start. See if you can start to pay attention to your triggers. So when I say triggers, I mean, what is it that happens that leads to your insecurities or your fears in relationships coming to the forefront? Start to work on your communication, trying to practice open and honest communication with your partner, even if it feels hard. So rather than perhaps avoiding difficult conversations, trying to approach them and approaching them in a way that is mature, that is open, with the aim of trying to resolve and build together, as opposed to the aim of trying to prove yourself right, upset the other person, push someone away, seek reassurance that someone cares about you. Those sorts of goals usually reflect an insecure attachment style, as opposed to a goal of trying to come to a satisfactory outcome together and to grow the relationship and deepen trust and love. And of course, you can always seek therapy. So working with a psychologist can help you understand and change your attachment style over time. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this useful. And as always, reach out to us at Sydney City Psychology if we can be of help to you.